friends, it's Mrs. Putman. I'm actually at my home studio right now. My studio is just a little area in my home that I've set up where I can make my own artwork, just like we make artwork at school. So I thought this would be a good place to show you some different art projects that we could all do together while we're all staying at home right now. I am going to start off with something simple, and it's going to be a little bit like a scavenger hunt. We're just going to need a few simple materials that you probably have at home or around your house. We are going to do something called a nature sculpture. And our nature sculptures are just going to need, you probably guessed it already, some objects from nature. So the first step of this project, we will actually be going outside. Now, before we talk about this anymore, I want to make sure that you check with a parent or an adult that's taking care of you and make sure that it's okay and it's safe for you to go outside right now. If it's nighttime when you're watching this, or you don't have an adult that can help you go outside, wait and ask permission, okay? So once you've figured out that you have permission and adult help, we can go outside and we can collect some different materials. We don't have to go far, but just even walking down your block, if you see a grassy area, there's probably a tree nearby that may have dropped some seeds or some twigs, grass. I bet you can find some really interesting materials. So we're going to do that collecting in a minute together, but we will need a container before we go outside. Doesn't really matter what it is, an old container, a bowl, something you have permission to use. And then when we come back inside with our materials, we will also need a big paper. Even like an old piece of newspaper would work. If you don't have a big paper, you could lay a few smaller pieces of paper next to each other just to kind of cover your area, because as you can see, it's going to be a little bit dirty. So we need to protect our working area. And then after we build our sculptures, we're going to do a couple fun things and do some drawing. So if you have even the back of a paper that you've already drawn on, back of a homework sheet, the back of a junk mail that your parents got that they don't want anymore, ask permission first though. You can even draw on that. If there's a plain backside of any paper, that will work. And something to draw with, a pencil. If you don't have a pencil, use a pen. And then lastly, this is another item you would need permission to use, but if you have a cell phone, we would be wanting to use the camera on it. The camera is going to be a way we can document and capture our sculpture after we create it. So ask an adult's help if you can use the cell phone camera. So these are the objects that we're going to need for our project today. You can pause the video now and go get those objects, or you can finish watching the video and then work at your own pace. Hi friends, so for this part of our art project, Helena and we went outside. So to do this project, you need, first of all, a nice day, and a bucket, a container, and some adult help. So Helena has me helping her because we need to ask permission to go outside. And we're just gonna walk down our block. We're not gonna cross any streets. We're just gonna walk down the block and collect some interesting objects. So maybe some sticks. What do you think we could, what else?
Like,
what do you think we're gonna find?
Owl-shaped sticks, maybe some rocks. And
some interesting shaped sticks.
Walnuts.
We'll show you. All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Put one in mine too. Shells maybe, something like that. Let's walk this way. Show me what you found. Ooh, looks like some sort of seed. All right, let's collect that. Let's walk this way, okay? We're just gonna stay on our side of the block. So these right here, these are pretty little purple flowers. I think those might just be a weed. So we can pick those.
Sort of a type.
Yeah. But somebody has a flower bed right there around their tree. We don't want to pick that. And
So like you can't just like step along and
let's grab
all
some
this
leaves
and
too.
pick one of those big flowers.
Ooh. Like this.
I'll try and find
Just a
a
little
for
bud.
you, Mama.
A little
What
bit
if
of
I
moss.
took that one?
You might find some bugs under there. Watch out for bugs.
Bugs could approach you any second now.
All right, so we're back home now and we're gonna go inside and lay out everything that we found and see what we can make. All right, friends, Helena and I are back from our little adventure outside. Remember, we had adult help, adult permission, and we went outside and we just stayed right on our sidewalk up and down the front of our house. Did we cross the street? Did we pick anybody's flowers in their garden? No. So we're going to just start laying our objects. You can use this side of the paper. At home, you can just find some newspaper or something to protect your table so it doesn't get dirty.
Maybe should we draw a line to show like whose nature collection is which?
Sure, we can do that. If you're doing this with,
Maybe like right here or
Okay.
here.
if you're doing this with a sibling or somebody that you live with, if you want to divide the paper, that's fine, or if you want to combine your objects, you can. And what we're going to do is lay out all of our objects, and we are going to just experiment first. The idea is that we're going to create a sculpture. Helena, do you know what a sculpture is?
A sculpture is like you can make different kinds of sculptures. Like you could make a sculpture like a statue or anything. Or
A statue, yep, that's one type of sculpture.
Well, we could collect things and then make them into something.
That's what we're doing today, yeah. Ooh.
Bug. Wow, I'm a bug collector.
You might find that you have some little stowaways. I've laid out all of my objects onto some paper, some newspaper, old wrapping paper, scrap paper, whatever you have. And we're just going to experiment. Okay, you ready, Helena? We've been arranging our found objects into temporary sculptures. This means they're not going to last forever, but artists experiment. And so we are learning and experimenting and just enjoying sort of a creative play. All right, Helena, tell us what this one is right here. You have like a couple different sculptures.
This is called the plant that grew on bark.
Ooh.
And this is called the pine cone from space. It's kind of like an alien from space. It's like antenna alienies thing.
I love it.
And this is called the nature ice cream. Nature ice cream!
Beautiful. So this is the sculpture I ended up with. And I'm gonna show you from this side too. I tried to prop it up with some twigs to get my pine cone standing up. And then the part that I enjoy the most is this little vase I made with some little buds and a little flower that I found from a weed. And then this is like the shell of maybe a walnut or something that I found in the dirt. So it's kind of cool, creepy looking. Reminds me a little bit of a sugar skull. So I can't really think of a title for my temporary sculpture, but I'm liking how it turned out. way, friends. So there are 2 ways that we could document our temporary sculptures before we put our objects back outside. So the first way is taking a picture. So we can get creative, take pictures from different angles to document our beautiful sculpture. We can just even use a cell phone camera. And then the second option would be to draw, to create a still life. So I'm going to bring the camera just a little bit closer and show you how we can pick an angle of our sculpture and just draw it. And that is another neat way to capture the beauty from our nature sculptures. So after we have drawn a still life of our sculpture or taken a picture to document it, there's one more way that you could experiment with your found natural objects, and that is to create your initial. So if Helena wanted to make hers, what's your first initial?
H.
H. So an initial is the first letter of your name. So you could do your first name, your last name, you could do your first, middle, and last name. It's totally up to you. So we're gonna experiment with creating our initials as well, and then maybe we'll take a picture of that before we bring our objects back outside. This is another way to make a sculpture, is to create a shape that you recognize. It doesn't have to be abstract. So Helena, what initial are you gonna do?
H.
Well, this one already kind of looks like a Y. But my name doesn't have a Y in it, so I'm just gonna kind of play around. I'm gonna do a P for Mrs. Putman. Let's see. We go.
So P for Priscilla or Putman, and the H for Helena.
Yeah.
That's my name.
Or we could
Helena.
do HP for Helena Putman.